and good evening. Welcome to the June 15th, 2021 Upper Gwynedd Township Board of Commissioners business meeting agenda. And before we stand for the pledge, just a reminder that we do not monitor our social media sites during the meeting. So if you put a question in or ask something, whatever, we won't be able to answer because we just don't monitor because we're focused in on the agenda. So with that, if we'll all please stand for the pledge. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the roll call. Deanna?
Liz McNaney, President.
Here.
Denise Hall, Vice President.
Here.
Martha Similaro, Commissioner.
Here.
Catherine Carter, Commissioner.
Here.
Ruth Damsker, Commissioner.
Here.
Sandra Zadell, Township Manager.
Here.
Megan Weaver, Assistant Township Manager.
Here.
Nicole Fight, Township Solicitor.
Here.
Isaac Kessler, Township Engineer.
Here.
David Duffy, Chief of Police.
Here.
David Brill, Finance Director.
Here.
Van Reeker, Zoning Officer.
Here.
Thank you. Thank you, Deanna. Next on the agenda is item number 4. We'll turn it over to Nicole for the announcement of our executive sessions.
Thank you, Madam President. The board met in executive session immediately prior to this meeting to discuss matters of personnel.
Great, thank you. Next on the agenda, item number 5, public comments and concerns. Do we have anybody tonight?
There's no public comment.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we're moving along to item number 6 on the agenda, and I'll turn it over to Chief Duffy.
Thank you. We have a commendation to announce tonight. Is Ashley in the meeting with us now?
It looked like she just dropped out.
Oh, bummer. Well, hopefully she can tune back in or play it back. So this is a commendation for life-saving actions on April 27th, 2021 at 10:36 in the morning. Upper Gwynedd Police responded to a home in 6300 block of Lilac Court for a reported choking victim. Upper Gwynedd Township Fire Department's quick response service also responded with Volunteer Medical Service Corps ambulance. Responding officers learned that an 89-year-old female resident was eating cereal, which she began to choke and turn blue. Caretaker Ashley Hughes began striking the female in the back, then performed the Heimlich maneuver. These actions successfully cleared the female's airway. When officers arrived, she was coughing but breathing. QRS personnel evaluated the woman and felt it was not fortuitous actions. Choking would have continued, and the outcome would have been much worse. Therefore, Ashley Hughes is recognized and officially commended for her quick thinking and life-saving actions that saved the township resident during a crisis situation. Presented with gratitude this 15th day of June, 2021. And that's what I have for you. Great job.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Chief. Was Ashley able to rejoin us? I don't see her.
She has not rejoined us.
Okay.
She's getting one in the mail, and you know, sometimes that opening happens. It'd be nice to wear her back in person, but the fancy official paper one is being sent to her.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. And thank you to Ashley for her efforts in saving the choking victim back in April. That's great to hear. Thank you. Next on the agenda, I'd like to turn it over to Isaac Kessler, our township engineer, for his presentation this evening.
Thank you, President Manny. Good evening, everyone. We'll take a few minutes tonight to overview the Township Stormwater Management Program, or MS4 program. I'll be presenting the information to you this evening, but I do want to recognize just the outstanding team that we have from our office for these MS4 programs which consists of Mike DeAngelis, our MS4 coordinator, and Liz Coletti, our MS4 team lead. Next slide, please. So to kind of define what the MS4 program is, an acronym that sometimes is tough to remember, I can admit, is the Municipal Separate Storm System, and that's the 4 S's of the MS4. What that means is really keeping separate township system that drains stormwater to the creeks and the waterways that we have throughout the township, and then the sewer water that will be directed to the treatment plant. And it kind of goes both ways. We don't want extra stormwater getting into our sewer system that would increase the amount that the treatment plant has to manage and treat. And vice versa, we don't want any sewage and pollutants getting into our waterways that outlets into our streams for local wildlife, for our recreation, and really to have clean, healthy waterways in our township. Next slide. So I won't go through the whole list here, but just to give you an idea of the history of the general permit, the PAG 13 permit, as it's called, which is the NPDES, the NPDES, which stands for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. You'll see the acronym pop up pretty often for any area or municipality that has a permit with the DEP. That NPDES permit is usually, which is the permit that basically reviews, controls how the stormwater is being managed before it's released into a local waterway. So the 1990s really is where a lot of this originated, coming from the EPA. We looked at individual and general permits coming out of that time frame. The difference being the individual permit focuses on areas that are already known to be issues with pollutants. The general permit's a little bit more broad. And then going into the 2000s, it began to really take the shape of this PAG 13 permit. You'll see 2002 is when that first was issued. And the 2010s, 20-teens started to focus to mapping of the stormwater system with the really goal of identifying which outlets were issues. You can identify where those pollutants are coming out of the system, which can then focus the resources on putting in place ways to mitigate pollutants in certain areas that you know has the pipes and the connections that lead to that spot. The 2016, some new requirements came out of the EPA. See some more acronyms here. Those stand for pollutant reduction plans, total maximum daily loads is TMDLs, PCMs, pollutant control measures. So they love the acronyms, and you'll see them all over the place with these permits, but they all really focus on those pollutants and how to mitigate and control those so we don't have too much of that in our streamways. 2018 is their latest updates. As the program evolves over time, they'll come out with some updated requirements and goals that they ask municipalities to meet. Next slide, please. The permit requirements has a series of minimum control measures, MCMs, and there's 6 of those. You can see that was the 1999 to 2011 issued bulk of it from the EPA. And then more recently from 2016, it has some added to that, which are pollutant reduction plans, TMDLs, which Upper Gwynedd has, which really maps out what projects are being put into place and thought about over the course of the permit cycle to address the reduction amounts, and also pollutant control measures. So we'll touch upon these elements of the permit tonight briefly, just talk about what each one of these actually means and how our township complies when we report what we're doing with the DEP. Next slide, please. First control measure is public education and outreach. So the DEP looks, when we do our annual report, to show them our progress, how we're educating the community on stormwater management and things of that nature. Some specific actions that we're doing to reduce the pollutants potential throughout the township. So Upper Gwynedd does a great job. We have education pamphlets that we distribute. There's information through various means. A great example of that is our township website that has a lot of great stormwater informational documents and elements that people can easily access. And we have presentations like this, an annual stormwater presentation to the board, to staff, to the public, where they have the opportunity to kind of get an overview of what the program is and have an opportunity to answer any of the questions they may have. Next slide, please. Just quickly, here's an example of some of these documents we distribute. You may have received one of these if you're a resident, or you may see them at certain events, but just an example of that MCM1 that we include with our report to DEP when we show these are the things that we're doing to comply with that part of it. Next slide. The second MCM is public involvement and participation. So a little bit more of a hands-on element of the program. It looks at opportunities for volunteer actions and establishing groups and teams for watershed review. So we have a few streams in the township, one of which is the Wissahickon Creek and that watershed. Obviously, there's a lot of great work that team does, as well as the other watersheds. There's volunteer groups that help maintain and take care of those streams. The township has our environmental website pages. We have our newly formed EAC that focuses on a lot of great issues. And these volunteering opportunities that we have that are great events, the Earth Day volunteering, or our Arbor Day events, tree plantings, and these public meetings, which have available agenda items for public comment for any issues that residents may have that they can bring to staff and the professionals to address any concerns they might have. Next slide, please. The third control measure is focused on illicit discharge detection. What that means is how to keep the bad stuff out of your water that goes to the streams, to be simple about it. And that is a lot of great work that we do between the township and the treatment plant, looking at ways to update the storm sewer system map, the illicit discharges that do happen, which could involve a spill of some sort of waste material, or just an infiltration of the system, looking into when those happen, how to mitigate those, and keeping a good record of when and where things like that happen so we can try to prevent them in the future. And then also having an ordinance against illicit discharge. So as a township, we have our ordinance section, number 162-25, talks about prohibited discharges. We regularly are updating our storm sewer map, and that's in GIS and other software the township has. We conduct basin inspections and also outfall inspections. And for all the outfalls in the township, and an outfall is a area where the pipe exits the system and goes into a waterway, we take a look at those at least once every permit cycle, and a permit cycle is 5 years. So through the course of those 5 years, we'll take a look and make sure each one is functioning properly, and hopefully there aren't issues that would arise, but we'll detect those if we take a look at them each permit cycle. Next slide, please. Just some examples. So you can see illicit discharge. Not that this was one specifically taken Upper Gwynedd, but it could be a regular one. You have oils, things that come off the roadways, things that sometimes spill out of trucks. The key is to try to identify where and to where that dirty water is going to go. So we have our township map, and the reason that it really focuses on the mapping is if there is an event, we'll know where that water is headed, try to kind of minimize what the effect will be on the water bodies. And then we can also identify areas that connect to that to make sure that we clean it up properly. Next slide, please. So we're getting through here, number 4 out of 6 for the minimum control measures. That will focus our efforts on the construction element that's happens in the township. So things that are under construction, MCM number 4 focuses on methods that are used to control the construction site, keep it clean, tidy. It's a time when things are all open on the ground. You have a dirt covered site. The key is to try to contain that and prevent that from just washing out into the streams. We don't want all that sediment and anything else that might be on the construction site washing off into the waterways. So we do have routine construction inspections, and we also have the ability to issue violations for ENS, which is erosion and sediment controls that aren't maintained properly. Next slide, please. Kind of coming out of that one for MCM number 5 would be the post-construction stormwater management. So compared to in construction, these are the longer term operational and maintenance plans that we have for stormwater features and elements throughout the township. So we, as a township, require an O&M agreement, the operation and maintenance agreement for these BMPs. So they keep coming with the acronyms. BMPs are best management practices, which are things like basins, infiltration beds, rain gardens. And what that does is it not only give you acknowledgement for having those features, but how are you properly maintaining them to make sure they're functioning properly over time. We also look at an inventory of these features, the post-construction stormwater management BMP inventory. And that's an ongoing process to make sure all of them are accounted for and checked in regularly to make sure they're working properly. And our chapter 16219 speaks of the O&M plan that's required for new development. Next slide, please. The last of the minimum control measures is pollution prevention. So that dives into procedures for managing township-owned stormwater facilities. These BMPs are basins, and developing procedures for pollutant containment and disposal. So as a township, we have our public works training, plans for pollutant handling and containment, and we have these regular maintenance and inspections of these BMPs. And this is all information that we record throughout the year and provide to the DEP to show that we're not only have an active permit, but that it's a living and breathing document. We address these things each year and report them as we go. Next slide, please. So there's other elements that the township has as part of the reporting to DEP are these other acronyms, the PRP, the Pollutant Reduction Plan, and the TMDL, the Total Maximum Daily Load. And what it's focusing on here is identifying impaired watersheds, and that's classified by the DEP. And there's a few that run through the township. We map the areas that drain to those areas, and we develop a plan to reduce the pollutants. And you can see some of the kind of usual suspects for these pollutants, the ones they focus on that they try to reduce. These are the things that to have a clean and environmentally well-functioning waterways. These are the things you want to limit and reduce to provide that healthy environment. So we have the fortunate partnership and great partnership with places like Merck that we team up together to really focus on planning out those projects that can address these issues for these impaired waterways. Next slide, please. So a little bit of the history of where we are now as a township. Our most recent permit cycle was submitted in September 2019. The TMDL, the PRP, that at the time when it's submitted to the DEP, there's a public comment period, and that did occur in 2019, which is at least 45 days. And you can see some of the impaired watersheds that are listed in the township here: Skipback Creek, Talminson, Wissahickon, Zacharias. And not surprisingly, there's parts of those list of pollutants that are above the thresholds that they prefer, which is why they're listed as impaired. So you can see the pollutant control measures are required for Wissahickon, Zacharias. The areas that drain to those creeks have been built up over the years, and the current approach with the MS4 program is to try to get that area back, at least environmentally and stormwater management wise, to a level that's healthy for the environment and also healthy for the water that we use to work and play and have our township interact with on a daily basis. our stream bank restoration and basin retrofits, great projects that we focus on that really is a great bang for the buck when it comes to trying to budget to try to address these issues of reducing pollutants. And we have an approved plan with multiple options to meet those reduction goals. Like I said, we've worked to identify grants, worked to have great partnerships with places like Merck and other businesses that could focus on areas that might need to be improved to help meet those goals. Next slide, please. The pollutant control measures that are listed with the MS4, there's 3 different appendices. And depending on the water body and where you are, you'll have to address it with the DEP. For Upper Gwynedd, we have Appendix B for pathogens and fecal coliform, which is a fun topic to go into another day. But those are the appendix. It's Appendix B that's included in our report each year. To address that element of it, we have our mapping, our source inventory, and showing how we're investigating and reporting on the items that we need to continually work towards improving. Next slide, please. We continue to update our mapping. That's obviously an ongoing effort. Anytime something new is built, we want to make sure it's mapped and available for our staff, for folks that have questions on how things are connected when it comes to stormwater. That's usually the first place we take a look. We have identified sources of sediment and established partners to fund the reduction needed for each of these sources. So that's in good standing, and we continue to work to improve that each year. And that appendix that I mentioned, there's the opportunity to expand animal ordinance specifications for animal waste. That's where a lot of that fecal coliform comes from. This is an example of a pamphlet that does exist. It's called Do Good. So we wanted to include that as something that is an MS4 document that's all available for public. Next slide. So with that, I mean, that's really an overview of our entire program, not to try to get too into the weeds with some of the elements of it. But as I mentioned, we have a great team in our office that works with all the staff here. The staff with Upper Gwynedd is fantastic with keeping records of when things happen, working with the treatment plant, working with providing documents when we have to package it all together for the DEP. And it's a team effort that we take a lot of pride in to make sure that we're on track to stay not just in good standing, but kind of lead the area for these waterways to show how everybody working together really can address these issues that they require to have it as clean as possible. So with that, any questions I'd be happy to answer. But tonight we definitely wanted to have the presentation and open it up to any questions.
Do any of the board members have any questions? No? Was there any? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner Court. No?
No.
Okay, great. Was there any public comment on anything that Isaac just went through?
There's no public comment.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation, Isaac. It was very thorough, and all the acronyms, yes, are tricky sometimes, but thank you for taking the time to explain what each one of them was, what they all meant. So we appreciate all of that. So with that, Sandra, was there anything that you wanted to add to that?
Thanks, President McNaney. I do want to add that Isaac's firm has been really great to work with on the MS4 program. They instituted this really cool, Megan can speak to it more because she does more of the work, but it's basically like a living, breathing spreadsheet that tells us everything we have to do each quarter so we can track what we've done. It's very useful, and it's really helped us just not be in a rush in June when we have to get all the information together. So thank you, Isaac.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. So with that, I guess we can move on with the agenda. So that would be, we're up to number 8, which is the consent items. So do we have a motion to approve consent items A through I? Right? A through I. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Is there any public comment about any of the reports or any of the information on the consent agenda?
There's no public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Oh, I'm sorry, roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call. We're all going to agree, but go ahead, Deanna. I'm sorry. I rolled up on my screen too far of the agenda and didn't see it. Roll call vote. Sorry.
President McNaney,
Aye.
Vice President Hall.
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Similaro,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
The ayes still have it. Thank you. Moving along on the agenda, we're up to item number 9, and I'll turn it over to Commissioner Hull.
Thank you, Commissioner McNaney. An extension was filed, so we are going to revisit item number 9 in July. But I will share with everybody that as I was driving down Town Pike today, I noticed a little reminder that our summer concert series is starting tomorrow night. The Hot Taters are going to be there at 7 p.m. So check it out and check out all of our concerts and movies and theater that will be in the park this summer. So that was just my public service announcement instead. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll cross that off my list. Great minds. Moving right along, next on the agenda, I will turn it over to Commissioner Carter.
Hello, number 10. We have a motion to approve the advertisement of ordinance 2021-02, amending the code at chapter 174, taxation at article, is that 11? No, 6. Volunteer service tax credit at section 43, earned income tax 44, real estate tax credit at section 46, certification of qualifying volunteers.
So we have a motion to approve the advertisement of ordinance 2021-02. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes still have it.
Number 11, motion to approve the hiring of Connor McCain as part-time deputy fire marshal / EMC.
So we have a motion to approve. Sandra, was there anything that you wanted to add before we second and do all that about the new hire, about Connor?
Well, just in general, we have a ton of new hires at the township, which we're
Yeah.
so thankful for. And Connor's going to have a big job ahead of him with Jeff going away for some military service. And Jeff and Connor have been doing tons of training, and I have all the faith that Connor will be ready.
Great, thank you. So we have a motion to approve the hiring of Connor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Any additional board comment? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes still have it.
And number 12, motion to approve the purchase of a replacement township vehicle because of damage.
So we have a motion to approve the purchase of a replacement township vehicle because of damage. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second.
We have a second. Is there any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment? Besides the fact that I'm glad we're replacing just a vehicle and not a person, so.
Me too. I do have a comment, Commissioner McNaney.
Sure.
We're going to be replacing this vehicle with a hybrid vehicle, which is really exciting. It'll be the second in our fleet that will be hybrid on the police department. And so I think that's going to be a great step forward for environmental improvements in the township.
Absolutely.
Cool.
So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes so have it. Thank you, Commissioner Carter. And we'll move along to Commissioner Damsker.
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Lansdale Family YMCA 5K Run that is scheduled to happen, the event on Saturday, September 18th, 2021.
So we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
So move.
We have a second. Any additional public comment? Any public?
No public comment.
Any board comment, except for the fact that we're so glad we're open to have runs again on our complex? Anything else? No. So all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes so have it.
Okay, now number 14, I'd like to make a motion to approve the concession stand lease with the Boston style pizza.
So we have a motion to approve the lease with Boston style pizza. Do we have a second?
So move.
We have a second. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment?
I'm glad, 'cause it's my favorite place to eat.
Yeah, they've done it for us before. Yes.
Yep, yep, and they're great to work with. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes so have it. Sorry, Martha. Oh, Sandra, you have your hand up.
I made a
Aye.
mistake. It's our third hybrid vehicle, hybrid vehicle, not second. So I just,
What's-
the
Are
chief,
there two at the police?
yes, so it'll be a third police hybrid vehicle, our K9 vehicle, the chief's vehicle, and the deputy chief.
Three. All right.
Hey, Liz, I just want to give a shout out, since I don't have anything else to say. Give a shout out to the Environmental Advisory Council, because they sponsored a rain barrel workshop last night, and we had residents attend, and everybody walked away with a 55-gallon rain barrel that they put together to help conserve water and help the environment out and help their properties out too. So it was a great event, and I recommend that everybody start reading our newsletter and look at the website for any future events that the EAC is going to sponsor, because they really are good. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Martha. You guys are killing me with my notes here that I was gonna. Okay. Moving right along to other business already. Wow. Next on the agenda is item number 15, which is a motion to approve the June 2021 open invoices. We've all had a chance to review and look over them. This will require a roll call vote. So do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second. Any public comment? I'm sorry.
No public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment? No? Deanna?
President McNaney,
Aye.
Vice President Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Simularo,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
The ayes so have it. Thank you. Item number 16 is a motion to approve the June 2021 paid invoices. So again, we've all had a chance to review all the paid invoices. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any public comment?
No public comment.
Thank you. Any additional board comment? Hearing none. Deanna?
President McNaney,
Aye.
Vice President Hall,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Simularo,
Aye.
Commissioner Damsker.
Aye.
The ayes so have it. Thank you, Deanna. And before we adjourn for the evening, just a couple things now. First one that just to bring some attention to is our fire department is having a golf outing on Monday, September 13th at the Mainland Golf Course. And all the information for sponsorships and different things that they're looking for to help make their golf outing, their first annual one, successful, can be found on the Upper Gwynedd Fire Department's website, Facebook page. And they've even created an event on there. So if you're interested, if any of our residents are interested in supporting the fire department, that would be a great way to do that. The other thing that I wanted to quickly talk about is we have started a Upper Gwynedd Township recognition program where we're looking for, if you have a child, a loved one, a neighbor, or friend that lives in Upper Gwynedd Township, that you would like to be recognized for an achievement or doing something special. If you could send that information to Sandra, and her email address is on our website, but it's ssadell@uppergwynedd.org. I already have 2 people I think we should recognize, and I'll do it real quick right now. Upper Gwynedd, 2 Upper Gwynedd residents were inducted into the Norgwen Baseball Hall of Fame last night. Steve Cameron and Bob Hamlin both just went above and beyond for many, many years. And even when their kids were out of playing baseball for Norgwen, they continue to serve that. So I was able to attend that event last night, and those 2 gentlemen definitely deserved to be inducted and have their name on the Norgwen Hall of Fame board. And lastly, Denise and Martha kind of touched on this a bit. There's a lot going on at the township this summer, and it feels so great to say that after last summer. If you, the marquee out front, like Denise mentioned, with the hot totters, hot potatoes, hot, whatever they were, I'm sorry.
Hot taters.
Hot taters. Hot taters. Yes. Besides the marquee, we have our website, Facebook pages. There's Upper Gwynedd Parks and Rec has a Facebook page. I'm almost done, Sandra. Stop yawning.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's not boring. It's actually my favorite topic, all the fun things we have going on in the park.
It's just unbelievable how many that we have. You know, we've already had a few already this month, and there's just so many throughout the summer. And the basketball league, I hit traffic coming out of there the other night, and what a tremendous turnout that we have for the league there. So please check out the website or Facebook pages and hopefully we'll see you. I know the commissioners, we're all going to try to get to as many of these events as we can. We hope to see as many residents there. So with that, did I forget anything? No?
I just want to say I had a great time at the birthday party for the Parkside Place. It was a wonderful, Sarah did a great job, her and her staff, everything from the water balloon fight to the tug of war. It was great to see the police out there having fun with the township residents. It was just a great time. She did a great job. Thank you.
And the cake was good too. Don't forget that. It was good cake. And then the next day after that, I joined some of our police officers when they had that goggle. And I know I'm going to screw up the name of the what it's called. It begins with an R, and it's just escaped my memory for now. But that was such a great event as well. So we'll continue to have great events throughout the summer. So with that, meeting